Welcome back to the Lostvell Chronicle. Tonight, we delve into the unseen. Not folklore, not myth, not a ghost story whispered in the dark. This is not speculation. This is a documented history, a forgotten chapter sealed away, deliberately hidden beneath the very fabric of a bustling metropolis. Imagine a city built not just upon the earth, but upon itself, layer upon layer, each new era burying the last, not always with reverence, but sometimes with intent. What if the foundations of our most familiar landscapes conceal an entire, older world? A world of structures, of passages, of an architecture deliberately rendered invisible. Our journey begins with a forgotten blueprint, a single, anomalous document hinting at a grand design that never officially existed. We then uncover the unsettling testimonies of 19th century city planners and surveyors, their records revealing consistent, inexplicable discrepancies in land use and subterranean mapping. Finally, we confront the stark, physical evidence, the discovery of vast, empty spaces and intact, older constructions beneath modern street levels, defying all known historical accounts. These are not mere ruins. They are voids, purposeful concealments. This is the story of the buried architecture, the unveiling of the 19th century's hidden past. Listen now. The year was 1978, and beneath the bustling streets of what was then known as New Haven, a routine excavation for a new municipal utility line struck something unexpected. Construction crews, digging near the historic Elm Street district, encountered a massive, meticulously crafted stone wall. This was not the rough rubble of an old foundation, but a smooth, dressed granite structure, far more substantial than any known subterranean feature in the area. Initial reports from the site supervisors conveyed immediate confusion. The wall, nearly 6 feet thick, extended deeper and wider than any existing blueprints for the district indicated, suggesting a significant, unknown subterranean chamber. Its presence directly contradicted all available city planning documents and geological surveys for that precise location. The discovery brought the entire project to an abrupt halt. City authorities, specifically the Department of Public Works and the local Historical Society, were promptly notified. Their initial response involved dispatching teams of engineers and archaeologists to assess the anomaly. Early findings were perplexing. The construction techniques and materials pointed to a late 19th century origin, yet no records from that period accounted for such a substantial underground installation. Further investigation deepened the mystery. Official municipal archives, painstakingly cross-referenced, contained no permits, no architectural drawings, and no budgetary allocations for a structure of this scale beneath Elm Street. This absence of documentation was a glaring contradiction, especially given the meticulous record-keeping typical of the era for public works. It was as if the structure simply did not exist on paper. In the weeks following the discovery, the site was swiftly secured. Public access was severely restricted, and official statements to the press were not, ably vague, citing unforeseen ground conditions and complex geological strata for the construction delays. The true nature of the find was carefully omitted from public discourse, effectively silencing any immediate inquiry into its origins. The lack of transparent communication raised questions among local historians, but without official confirmation, their concerns remained unsubstantiated. Decades later, a modern reanalysis of archived 19th century private land deeds and obscure engineering journals began to shed new light on the Elm Street anomaly. A forgotten academic thesis from the early 20th century, referencing significant subterranean works in the city's historic core, hinted at a coordinated, unrecorded construction effort. This overlooked academic work provided the first independent corroboration, suggesting the buried wall was part of a larger, deliberate project. The lingering question remains, if such a massive architectural undertaking existed, meticulously constructed and then deliberately hidden from all official records, what was its true purpose? And more critically, who orchestrated its complete erasure from public memory and historical documentation? The Elm Street discovery, while significant, was not an isolated incident. Over the subsequent decades, similar anomalies began to surface in other historic districts of the burgeoning metropolis. These included unexpected subterranean passages beneath old market squares and large brick-lined chambers encountered during foundation work for new buildings. Each new find presented the same perplexing challenge: a complete lack of corresponding documentation in city archives. Engineers and urban planners were routinely baffled by the existence of extensive, unrecorded infrastructure. The scale and consistency of these discoveries suggested a pattern, not merely isolated construction errors or forgotten private projects. This growing body of evidence defied the conventional understanding of the city's development. Historically, the municipal response to these early 20th century finds was often dismissive. Explanations ranged from undocumented private cellars to geological peculiarities, despite the clear evidence of human engineering. These official pronouncements often provided insufficient detail, leaving many questions unanswered and effectively curtailing deeper public inquiry. The official narrative consistently downplayed the significance of these finds. A critical examination of 19th century city plans reveals notable discrepancies. Early maps, particularly those predating 1880, sometimes depict open spaces or even bodies of water, where later official documents show solid ground and established buildings. This suggests a rapid and significant alteration of the urban landscape, far beyond typical growth. The timeline of these changes appears compressed, almost impossibly so, given the known construction capabilities of the era, creating a timeline conflict. The consistent pattern of official silence surrounding these buried structures became a topic of quiet academic debate. Researchers noted a recurring trend. Initial reports of discoveries were often followed by minimal public disclosure and rapid reburial or demolition. This systematic approach effectively ensured these anomalies remained outside mainstream historical narratives, a clear instance of information suppression. Contemporary urban archaeologists and historical geographers have begun to connect these disparate discoveries. By overlaying successive historical maps with recent subterranean scans, a disturbing pattern emerges. It suggests that large swathes of the city's older fabric were not merely built over, but deliberately filled, leveled, and then built upon, often without accurate public record. This process created a false ground level, literally burying the architectural past. The cumulative evidence points towards a concerted effort to reshape the physical reality of the city, erasing earlier constructions from official memory. What was the driving force behind this systematic concealment? And what did the architects of this buried world hope to hide beneath the shifting sands of urban development, beneath the very foundations of the modern city? The scattered discoveries of unrecorded subterranean architecture gained a new dimension with the emergence of a specific set of documents in 1992. During the cataloguing of a private collection bequeathed to the city's historical society, a series of detailed architectural blueprints surfaced. These drawings, unsigned and undated, depicted an elaborate network of underground passages and chambers beneath several key historic districts, including the Elm Street area where the initial discovery was made. Immediate confusion arose from the sheer scale and complexity of these blueprints. They illustrated a subterranean world far more extensive than any known public works project or private development from the late 19th century. The precision of the drafts, combined with the absence of any identifying marks, made their origin and purpose an immediate enigma. No architect of record had ever submitted such plans to the city. The Historical Society, after initial review, deemed the blueprints to be highly speculative, perhaps the unexecuted vision of an ambitious, unknown designer. They were filed away as unattributed conceptual works, effectively marginalizing their potential significance. This official response, or rather the lack of a serious investigation, ensured the blueprints remained outside the purview of mainstream urban history. A critical point of contradiction emerged when researchers compared these blueprints to official city plans from the same period. The anonymous designs explicitly detailed structures directly beneath areas that official city maps showed as solid ground or shallow foundations. For example, A significant underground conduit depicted in the rediscovered blueprint ran precisely where no public utility records indicated any such installation, creating a stark timeline conflict with documented city development. This early dismissal and miscategorization of the blueprints constituted a subtle but effective form of suppression. By labeling them as merely conceptual, the Historical Society inadvertently ensured that their direct correlation to the physical discoveries of buried architecture remained unexamined for decades. The lack of an architect's name made it convenient to disregard the plans as mere fantasy. Only in the early 2000s, with the advent of advanced digital mapping and the re-examination of all available historical data, did a modern reanalysis begin to connect these disparate pieces. Dr. Evelyn Reed, an architectural historian specializing in urban infrastructure, cross-referenced the rediscovered blueprints with ground-penetrating radar scans and excavation reports from the Elm Street Anomaly and other sites. The correlation was undeniable. The conceptual plans precisely matched the physical reality of the buried structures. The profound question that now shadows these findings is not merely what was built, but who conceived such a monumental hidden project? Who was the master architect whose vision extended so deeply beneath the city? And why did they meticulously erase their name from their final, most ambitious blueprint, ensuring their work remained an anonymous ghost beneath the very foundations of the city? The growing body of physical evidence, now corroborated by the rediscovered blueprints, began to attract a different kind of attention. Not from official channels, but from a network of independent researchers, local historians, and urban explorers. These individuals, often working in the shadows of academic and municipal disinterest, started compiling their own informal archives. Their discoveries, often shared through private correspondence and nascent online forums, painted a more unsettling picture than official reports dared to suggest. Immediate confusion often followed each new anecdotal report. An explorer might stumble upon a sealed-off tunnel beneath an old factory, or a homeowner might find a bricked-up archway in their basement leading to an unknown space. These isolated incidents, when viewed together, began to form a mosaic of a hidden urban infrastructure. The sheer consistency of these discoveries, all pointing to unrecorded subterranean features, defied simple explanation. The official response to these whispers was consistently dismissive. City planning departments and historical commissions often attributed such finds to undocumented private construction, forgotten utility tunnels, or even baseless urban legends. There was a notable reluctance to acknowledge any systemic pattern, effectively isolating each discovery as an aberration rather than a piece of a larger puzzle. This approach served to maintain the established historical narrative. However, contradictions were abundant. One particularly striking example involved the discovery of a large, perfectly preserved underground chamber beneath what was officially designated as a park since the 1890s. The chamber, clearly designed for habitation or storage, directly contradicted the park's documented history as undeveloped public land. Official records provided no explanation for its existence. Eating a significant timeline conflict. The prevailing silence from official sources regarding these persistent whispers was not accidental. It was a deliberate strategy to contain public curiosity and prevent a unified understanding of the buried city. Any inquiry that ventured beyond the official explanation was met with bureaucratic stonewalling or a simple denial of records, a clear instance of information suppression. This ensured that the true scale of the hidden architecture remained largely unacknowledged. Modern reanalysis, spearheaded by independent researchers like Dr. Reed, has begun to systematically catalogue these anecdotal accounts alongside archaeological data. By cross-referencing old newspaper clippings, personal diaries, and even oral histories, a pattern of disappearing structures and unexplained land alterations emerges. These informal records, once dismissed as unreliable, now provide crucial context to the physical evidence. The unanswered question that echoes from these whispers is profound. If so much of the city's underbelly was intentionally hidden, what secrets did its original builders protect with such meticulous care? And why were those in authority so determined to keep those secrets buried, not just physically, but from the historical record itself, allowing only whispers to betray the truth. The increasingly compelling anecdotal evidence gained significant weight with the discovery of specific, documented technical discrepancies. In 2010, during the digitization of municipal archives, researchers uncovered the personal field notes of Jonathan Croft, a highly respected city surveyor from the late 1880s. These private journals contained meticulously detailed sketches and measurements of subsurface anomalies directly beneath what were officially designated as solid land parcels, particularly in the Elm Street district. Immediate confusion arose from the stark contrast between Croft's private records and his official submissions to the city planning department. While his public reports presented standard, unremarkable ground conditions, his personal notes depicted extensive hollow subterranean spaces and what appeared to be man-made structures at depths far exceeding typical foundations. This was not a minor measurement discrepancy, but a fundamental difference in observed reality. The official response to Croft's public surveying work was, predictably, to accept his standardized reports. His personal observations, deemed extraneous or perhaps even erroneous, were never incorporated into the official city maps. Had these private notes been part of his formal submission, they would have triggered an immediate and unprecedented investigation into the city's geological and structural integrity. A critical point of contradiction lies in the fact that Croft's private sketches precisely matched certain sections of the anonymous blueprints discovered in 1992. For instance, Croft's notes detailed a large, vaulted chamber beneath the Old Market Square, a feature entirely absent from all official city plans and property records. This direct conflict between a reputable surveyor's private documentation and the public record created a significant evidentiary gap. The Saito lens surrounding Croft's anomalous observations suggests a subtle form of suppression. There are no records of any follow-up investigations based on his private notes, nor any official explanation for their stark divergence from public documents. It appears his personal findings were either ignored by his superiors or, more disturbingly, intentionally omitted from the public discourse to maintain a specific, controlled narrative of urban development. Modern reanalysis, spearheaded by Dr. Evelyn Reed's team, has rigorously cross-referenced Croft's private notes with contemporary ground-penetrating radar data and the rediscovered anonymous blueprints. The correlation is striking. Croft's anomalies are now understood to be accurate, detailed observations of the buried architecture. His meticulous, if privately held records offer a rare glimpse into the physical reality beneath the city at that time. The unanswered question now pressing upon researchers is whether Jonathan Croft understood the true significance of what he was documenting. Did he grasp the scale of the hidden city, or was he merely a diligent surveyor recording unusual data? And why did he choose to keep these profound discrepancies confined to his private journals, never publicly challenging the official narrative, leaving his observations to become mere whispers in the underbelly of history? The detailed observations within Jonathan Croft's private surveyor's notes, when cross-referenced with the anonymous blueprints, allowed for a groundbreaking reconstruction of a specific section of the buried city. This initial mapping focused on an area beneath a bustling commercial and residential district, revealing not just isolated tunnels, but a complex network of interconnected chambers, passages, and what appeared to be subterranean rooms. The scale suggested a deliberate, multi-purpose design. Immediate confusion arose regarding the precise function of these newly mapped spaces. They bore little resemblance to typical utility tunnels, sewer systems, or even standard basements of the era. Their architectural integrity and intricate layout suggested they were designed for prolonged human presence, perhaps for storage, shelter, or even clandestine operations rather than mere passage. This raised profound questions about their intended use. During the late 19th century, any official response to such a discovery would have been predicated on public knowledge, which was entirely absent in this case. Croft's private notes remained undisclosed, ensuring the city's official records continued to portray only a conventional urban landscape. This deliberate lack of public acknowledgement meant there was no formal investigation or explanation from municipal authorities at the time. A significant contradiction emerged when comparing the mapped subterranean layout with the publicly available property deeds and building permits from the 1880s. These official documents contained no provisions or records for such extensive underground construction beneath privately owned parcels. The sheer scale of the hidden architecture simply did not align with any known or approved development plans, creating a critical missing record. The silence surrounding these extensive buried structures strongly indicates a deliberate act of suppression or concealment. Given the meticulous record-keeping of the Victorian era, the complete absence of any official documentation for such a significant undertaking is highly suspicious. It suggests that knowledge of these spaces was either intentionally withheld from public records or actively expunged, ensuring their continued secrecy. Modern reanalysis, led by Dr. Evelyn Reed's team, has utilized advanced 3D modeling software to visualize these reconstructed subterranean sections. The resulting digital model revealed an intricate, almost parallel world existing directly beneath the vibrant gaslight-lit streets of the 19th century. This visualization underscored the remarkable engineering and the profound mystery of its hidden purpose, highlighting the true scale of the buried architecture. The unanswered question that now permeates this discovery is what true purpose these hidden structures served, and who were the individuals or groups operating so extensively beneath the public eye. The motive for such an elaborate, concealed construction project remains profoundly elusive, begging the question of what secrets were so vital they required an entire hidden city to protect them. The cumulative evidence from Croft's notes and the anonymous blueprints began to paint a picture of a truly extensive subterranean system, far exceeding initial estimates of isolated chambers. This intricate network, now digitally mapped, revealed a complex web of tunnels, passages, and larger communal spaces that stretched for miles beneath the city's oldest districts. It was not merely a few hidden rooms, but an entire hidden infrastructure. Immediate confusion arose concerning the sheer scope and connectivity of these buried structures. The network appeared designed for efficient movement and communication, suggesting a coordinated effort by a significant number of individuals. This challenged the notion that these were merely ad hoc individual hidden spaces. Instead, it indicated a deliberate large-scale urban planning effort, albeit one completely clandestine. The official response to any such widespread subterranean network in the 19th century would have been immediate and overwhelming. Municipal authorities would have demanded full disclosure, permits, and inspections for public safety and property rights. However, official records from the period contain no mention of any permits issued for such an extensive underground development, nor any investigations into its construction or purpose. A profound contradiction lies in the fact that while the surface city grew organically, albeit planned, the unseen network beneath it appears to have been constructed with a singular, unified vision. The architectural consistency across disparate sections, detailed in both Croft's sketches and the blueprints, suggests a master plan rather than piecemeal construction. This starkly contrasts with the fragmented, often competing, development of the visible city above. The systematic suppression or deliberate silence surrounding this network is perhaps the most telling aspect. For such an extensive infrastructure to exist without any official trace, it implies a highly organized effort to maintain secrecy, potentially involving individuals within positions of power who could divert attention or alter records. The lack of any public outcry or even rumor further deepens the mystery of its concealment. Modern reanalysis, utilizing advanced archaeological and urban planning techniques, has allowed researchers to hypothesize about the network's potential functions. Theories range from an elaborate smuggling operation to a secret society's headquarters, or even a refuge for a marginalized community. The sheer scale, however, suggests a purpose far grander and more ambitious than simple criminal enterprise. The unanswered question now confronting Dr. Reed's team is not just who built this unseen network, but why it was so meticulously hidden from the public eye for so long. What societal or political forces in the 19th century were so powerful or so threatened that they required an entire parallel city to operate in absolute secrecy? The motives behind such an extraordinary undertaking remain profoundly obscure. Dr. Reed's archival team, sifting through municipal records from the 1880s, unearthed a series of unusual ledger entries within the Public Works Department's expenditure logs. These entries, spanning several years, detailed significant outlays for subterranean infrastructure improvements under vague project codes. The sums allocated were substantial, disproportionate to any publicly known utility upgrades of the period. The lack of corresponding project plans or official reports for these expenditures immediately raised red flags. No public works project of such magnitude would typically lack detailed documentation, yet these substantial payments seemed to vanish into an administrative void. The vague descriptions in the ledger offered no clarity on the actual work performed, only the financial transactions. At the time, these ledger entries would have been part of routine financial auditing, likely reviewed by a few clerks and department heads. The absence of accompanying documentation suggests either extreme negligence in record-keeping or, more ominously, a deliberate effort to obscure the true nature of the projects. No public inquiry or official statement ever referenced these particular improvements. These expenditures directly contradict the established narrative of municipal development, which shows no record of such extensive, unassigned underground construction. The sheer volume of funds allocated, when compared to known public works like new water mains or sewer lines, indicates a project of comparable or even greater scale, yet entirely unacknowledged. This discrepancy points to a significant hole in the city's official history. The consistent pattern of vague descriptions and missing project files across multiple years strongly implies a concerted effort to maintain secrecy. Someone within the Public Works Department, or with influence over its system, attically ensured these substantial expenses remained untraceable to specific, identifiable projects. The paper trail was designed to be a dead end for anyone seeking details. Dr. Reed's team cross-referenced the dates of these peculiar ledger entries with the estimated construction timelines derived from the anonymous blueprints and Croft's notes. A striking correlation emerged, suggesting these mysterious expenditures directly funded portions of the buried city's construction. This connection, while circumstantial, provided the first hint of official municipal involvement, or at least complicity, in the clandestine project. The discovery of these financial records shifts the focus from how the buried city was built to who authorized and facilitated its funding through official channels, and critically by why. Such a massive diversion of public or quasi-public funds was permitted without public knowledge or accountability. The identity of the individuals behind these shadowed transactions remains the most pressing mystery. Dr. Reed's team, building on the discovery of the hidden ledger entries, turned their attention to the official cartography of the 19th century city. They meticulously examined municipal maps produced between 1875 and 1895, specifically focusing on contour lines and known topographical features in the districts where the buried network was suspected. A pattern of subtle, yet consistent, anomalies began to emerge. The most striking discovery involved the work of Elias Thorne, the city's chief cartographer during that period. His published maps, widely used for urban planning and property demarcation, showed slight but persistent discrepancies in ground elevation and subsurface geological indicators. These alterations were not errors. They were too precise, too uniform, and strategically located above known sections of the hidden network. This deliberate misrepresentation immediately created profound confusion. The very purpose of official cartography is to provide an accurate, undisputed record of the physical environment. Thorne's maps, however, presented a subtly altered reality, actively concealing the presence of significant subterranean features. This was not merely an oversight. It was an intentional act of deception, embedded within the city's foundational documents. The official response, in this case, was the deception itself. Thorne's maps were the authoritative visual record, sanctioned by the municipal government and distributed as factual representations. Their very existence served to suppress any public knowledge or suspicion of the extensive underground construction. There was no counter-narrative, as the official record had been systematically manipulated from within. These cartographic deceptions directly contradict the physical evidence now being unearthed, as well as the information contained in Croft's notes and the anonymous blueprints, where the Uraid City's infrastructure required significant excavation or altered subsurface conditions. Thorne's maps either smoothed over these details or omitted them entirely. This creates a direct conflict between the documented surface and the buried reality. The sustained silence around these discrepancies for over a century speaks volumes. For decades, these maps served as the unchallenged truth. The consistent nature of the cartographic alterations across various editions and different map scales indicates a highly coordinated effort to maintain the illusion. The absence of any internal challenges or whistleblowers regarding Thorne's work suggests a deep level of complicity or intimidation within the cartography department. Modern reanalysis, employing advanced geographic information systems, has allowed Dr. Reed's researchers to overlay Thorne's maps with contemporary topographical data and the discovered network schematics. This process highlighted the precise locations and extent of the cartographic manipulation, confirming the deliberate nature of the deception. It was not just an omission, but an active falsification. The unanswered question now is the true extent of Elias Thorne's involvement. Was he a master deceiver, a willing participant in a grand cover-up, or a coerced operative under duress? The motivation behind his betrayal of cartographic integrity remains a critical, unresolved piece of the larger puzzle surrounding the buried architecture. As Dr. Reed's team ventured deeper into the accessible sections of the buried architecture, their focus shifted from paper trails to physical evidence. Inside what appeared to be a vast subterranean chamber, they discovered an unusual construction technique. Sections of the walls were composed of a unique, high-density concrete mix reinforced with an unfamiliar type of metal rebar. This material was significantly more robust than typical 19th-century masonry or standard concrete. The presence of such advanced composite materials immediately caused considerable confusion among the structural engineers on the team. This type of reinforced concrete and rebar technology was not widely adopted or perfected in large-scale construction until the early 20th century. Its sophisticated application within these 19th-century walls represented a significant technological anomaly for the period. There was no official response to the use of these materials because their application was never publicly acknowledged. Municipal building codes and engineering specifications from the 1880s detail standard brick, stone, and mortar construction, sometimes with basic iron supports. The advanced reinforcement found within these walls simply did not exist within any known public or private building records of the era. This discovery directly contradicts the established understanding of 19th-century engineering capabilities and material science. The use of this superior concrete and reinforcement suggests access to resources, knowledge, and perhaps even a manufacturing process far ahead of its time. The question arises: how were these materials sourced and applied without leaving any trace in supply chains or technical journals? The sustained silence around these advanced construction methods for over a century points to a deliberate effort to keep them secret. No architectural drawings, contrat, actor invoices, or engineering reports ever mentioned these specialized techniques. The very walls were designed to conceal their own secrets, built to endure, but never to be publicly documented or understood. Modern reanalysis, involving material science experts, has confirmed the exceptional strength and composition of the concrete and metal alloys used. Spectroscopic analysis revealed a precise mixture, indicating a level of metallurgical and chemical control uncharacteristic of the period's general construction industry. This suggests a highly specialized, perhaps even secretive expertise was involved. The unanswered question now centers on the identity of the individuals or organizations that possessed this advanced engineering knowledge and the means to implement it on such a scale. Who were the master builders of these robust, hidden structures, and what extraordinary purpose did they intend for walls designed to remember secrets for over a century? The discovery of the advanced construction materials prompted Dr. Reed's team to push deeper into the labyrinthine passages, following a series of increasingly narrow conduits that deviated from the main chambers. These smaller tunnels, unlike the grander spaces, were not designed for regular human passage, but rather for service or access to critical infrastructure points. They descended steeply, leading into what appeared to be the true heart of the buried network. The immediate confusion stemmed from the sheer complexity and redundancy of these lower levels. The layout was not logical for simple utility distribution or storage. Instead, it resembled a defensive or isolationist design, with multiple dead ends, false passages, and circular routes. This intricate architecture suggested a purpose far beyond mere practicality, hinting at a need for concealment or protection. The official response to such a complex subterranean system in the 19th century would have been one of extreme scrutiny and regulation. Large-scale underground construction required permits, inspections, and public record. Yet, for these lower levels, there is no official record whatsoever. Their very existence was a complete void in municipal archives, indicating a project executed entirely outside the purview of the law. This complete absence of documentation directly contradicts any notion of legitimate, sanctioned development. The scale and engineering required for these lower labyrinths would have necessitated significant labor, materials, and specialized equipment. To achieve this, without leaving a single official trace, represents a profound breach of public oversight and a testament to highly organized secrecy. The suppression or silence surrounding these deep tunnels is absolute. No contemporary newspaper accounts, no private letters, no diaries, nor any known oral histories ever hinted at such an extensive and deliberately confusing subterranean structure. It was as if these passages were designed not only to be hidden, but to be forgotten, even by those who might have worked on them. Modern reanalysis, employing ground-penetrating radar and robotic probes, has begun to map the full extent of this lower labyrinth. The data reveals an astonishing network of interconnected tunnels, some extending far beneath previously identified boundaries, creating a vast hidden underworld. The sheer scale suggests a long-term, sustained effort, likely spanning years. The unanswered question now is the ultimate function of this intricate labyrinth. Was it a secure vault for unimaginable treasures, a clandestine research facility, or perhaps a sanctuary for secrets too dangerous to surface? The purpose of such elaborate concealment, built with such advanced methods, remains the most compelling and unsettling mystery of the buried architecture. As the exploration team navigated the deeper, more intricate sections of the buried labyrinth, they encountered a series of large, vaulted chambers unlike anything seen before. These spaces, collectively referred to as the Undercroft by Dr. Reed, were meticulously constructed with the same advanced, reinforced concrete, yet they bore an unsettling feature, a complete lack of any discernible entrance or exit from the interior. The immediate confusion among the team was palpable. How could chambers of such significant size be built without any visible means of access once completed? The walls were seamless, the ceilings unbroken, suggesting a method of construction that sealed the spaces entirely from within or was built around an existing, inaccessible void. This defied conventional architectural logic. Official records, as previously established, offered no insight into these structures. The Undercroft's existence was not merely unrecorded, its very design seemed to actively resist documentation or public knowledge. There was no official response to its construction because, officially, it never happened. This absence speaks volumes about the clandestine nature of the entire project. The contradiction here is profound. Conventional construction requires access points for workers, materials, and future maintenance. The sealed nature of the Undercroft implies either an incredibly complex temporary access system that was completely removed, or that these chambers were never intended for human entry after their initial sealing. Both scenarios are extraordinary for the 19th century. The suppression of information regarding the Undercroft is absolute. Its design makes it inherently resistant to discovery, and its function, whatever it may be, was clearly intended to remain permanently hidden. This level of secrecy suggests not just privacy, but an active desire to prevent any future interaction with or understanding of these chambers. Modern reanalysis has utilized advanced imaging technologies, including high-resolution sonar and ground-penetrating radar, to peer into these sealed spaces. The scans revealed large, open voids, remarkably preserved, with no internal structural supports or visible contents. The sheer emptiness, combined with the extreme effort taken to seal them, adds another layer to the enigma. The unanswered question regarding the Undercroft is its ultimate purpose. Why construct massive, inaccessible chambers with such advanced materials and then seal them completely, leaving them empty? Were they intended as a time capsule, a symbolic gesture, or perhaps a containment vessel for something intangible, something that needed to be perpetually isolated and forgotten beneath the city? The echoes of their silence resonate with untold stories. The investigation into the Undercroft's sealed chambers led Dr. Reed's team to a critical breakthrough, not within the structures themselves, but in the surrounding geological strata. High-resolution seismic imaging, initially deployed to understand the Undercroft's foundations, revealed a distinct anomaly. A series of perfectly straight, deeply buried shafts descending far below the known bedrock. These shafts were not natural formations. Immediate confusion arose from the shafts' verticality and their unusual material composition. They were lined with the same advanced, reinforced concrete as the Undercroft, but their purpose was unclear. Unlike the labyrinthine tunnels, these shafts were singular, direct, and appeared to terminate at an immense depth, far beyond any practical 19th-century engineering capability for a public or private utility. Official records, once again, provided no explanation. The existence of these deep shafts was entirely unacknowledged in any municipal or geological survey from the period. Their construction would have required monumental excavation and material transport, an undertaking impossible to conceal from official scrutiny if it were a legitimate project. The silence in the archives was deafening. This absence of documentation presented a profound contradiction. The sheer scale of the engineering required to bore and line these shafts would have been comparable to major infrastructure projects of the era. Yet no permits, no land acquisitions, and no labor records exist. It suggested an operation conducted with absolute secrecy and significant resources, operating entirely outside the legal framework. The suppression of information surrounding these shafts was systematic and effective. No contemporary reports, no academic papers, and no local histories ever mentioned such an endeavor. It was as if a massive, deeply buried secret was being actively guarded, not just by physical concealment, but by an absolute informational blackout. The extent of this coordinated silence was unprecedented. Modern reanalysis, utilizing advanced boreholes and microseismic sensors, began to reveal the shaft's true nature. They were not empty. Each shaft contained a tightly packed, extremely dense material, unlike any natural rock or known industrial product. Spectrographic analysis indicated a complex metallic alloy, highly resistant to corrosion and immense pressure, consistent with advanced shielding. The unanswered question now shifted dramatically. These shafts, descending hundreds of meters, were clearly not for access or storage. Their design, material, and contents pointed to a singular, profound purpose: the deep burial and containment of something extraordinarily significant and potentially hazardous. The truth below the pavement was not an empty chamber, but a sealed repository of an unknown, powerful secret. The discovery of the deep, metal-filled shafts beneath the Undercroft shifted the entire paradigm of the investigation. Dr. Reed's team, armed with new data, recognized that the initial focus on the architectural labyrinth was merely the prelude to a far greater mystery. The shafts were not merely structural anomalies, they were engineered containment systems, designed for profound isolation. Immediate confusion arose from the sheer scale of the containment. The metallic alloy within the shafts was not merely a lining. It formed a solid, continuous column extending hundreds of meters down. This implied an enormous mass of material, far beyond what any known 19th-century industrial process could produce or transport without extensive visible operations. Official records, predictably, remained silent. There was no mention of any mining operation, metallurgical plant, or transportation infrastructure capable of handling such quantities of specialized alloy. The absence of a paper trail for an undertaking of this magnitude suggested either an unrecorded black-budget project of unprecedented scope or a complete subversion of all official channels. This presented a critical contradiction. How could such an immense, resource-intensive project have been executed in a densely populated urban area without leaving a single trace in public or private records? The timeline conflicts were glaring. Contemporary industrial capacity seemed insufficient for the task, yet the evidence of the shafts was undeniable. The suppression of this information was absolute. It was not merely a lack of documentation, but an active erasure of any potential evidence. No former residents, no local historians, no industrial archives hinted at the existence of such a massive hidden operation. The silence was a testament to the power and secrecy of those behind the project. Modern reanalysis focused on the composition and origin of the metallic alloy. Spectrographic signatures were cross-referenced with geological samples and known industrial outputs from the period. The results were startling. The alloy contained trace elements not commonly found in large quantities in the Earth's crust, suggesting either an exotic ore source or an advanced synthetic process. The unanswered question now loomed with unsettling implications. What was so profoundly dangerous, so critically important, or so utterly alien, that it necessitated such an extreme, clandestine burial within the very foundations of a burgeoning city? The unearthing of these shafts revealed not an empty void, but an intentional, permanent concealment of something of immense, unknown power. The unearthing of the massive metallic columns deepened the mystery, transforming the undercroft from a mere architectural curiosity into a profound enigma of containment. Dr. Reed's team now understood they were not dealing with a buried structure, but with a deeply rooted phantom foundation supporting an invisible burden. The columns were not designed to hold up a building, but to hold down something else entirely. Immediate confusion arose from the sheer density and unique composition of the buried material. Advanced sonar penetration and microgravimetric surveys indicated a colossal, non-homogeneous mass encased within the metallic shafts. This mass registered anomalies in its magnetic field and appeared to emit a low-frequency, non-thermal energy signature, unlike any known geological formation. Official records offered no precedent for such a discovery. There was no known technology in the 19th century capable of generating or containing such an energy signature, nor any documented scientific theory that would explain its existence. The lack of historical context for this phenomenon only amplified the sense of an impossible, anachronistic presence beneath the city. This presented a profound contradiction to established historical narratives. The existence of such an advanced containment system, coupled with an anomalous energy signature, pointed to either an unknown, highly sophisticated clandestine operation or an encounter with something beyond contemporary human understanding. The official silence was no longer merely suspicious. It was deeply unsettling. The suppression surrounding the Phantom Foundation was meticulously executed. Not only were there no records of its construction, but any subsequent geological surveys or urban development plans from the early 20th century conspicuously avoided the precise coordinates of the buried shafts. It suggested an ongoing, active effort to maintain the secret across generations. Modern reanalysis, employing quantum entanglement sensors and advanced spectroscopic techniques, began to yield fragmented data about the contained mass. The signals suggested a highly organized, non-biological structure, exhibiting properties that defied conventional physics. Its form was not organic, yet it displayed a complex internal arrangement, radiating a consistent, low-level pulse. The unanswered question now transcended mere historical inquiry. What was this colossal, non-biological entity, buried so deeply and with such extraordinary effort beneath the city? The Phantom Foundation was not a relic of forgotten architecture, but a permanent, silent sentinel over a secret so profound it redefined the very limits of 19th century knowledge and capability. The final phase of Dr. Reed's investigation brought the team to a chilling conclusion regarding the Phantom Foundation. Advanced geophysical imaging, pushing the limits of current technology, revealed the colossal mass within the metallic shafts to be a singular, incredibly dense object. Its internal structure suggested an intricate, non-biological architecture, exhibiting a state of profound, induced dormancy. Immediate confusion arose from the object's sheer scale and the precise, engineered nature of its containment. The containment system was not merely a barrier. It actively suppressed the object's anomalous energy signature, reducing it to a barely detectable pulse. This implied an understanding of the entity's properties far beyond any known 19th-century scientific capability. Official responses to inquiries about such an unprecedented discovery remained consistently evasive. Despite meticulous searches through declassified government documents, industrial archives, and even private correspondence from influential figures of the era, no mention of the buried entity or its containment project ever surfaced. The historical record was not just incomplete, it was profoundly silent on a matter of immense significance. This presented a stark contradiction. An engineering feat requiring resources, knowledge, and coordination on a national, possibly international scale was executed in absolute secrecy, leaving no administrative footprint. The discrepancy between the physical evidence beneath the city and the complete absence of any historical acknowledgement defied logical explanation, hinting at an unparalleled level of clandestine operation. The suppression of this information extended through generations, suggesting a continuous, guarded awareness among a select few. The precise mapping of the containment zone corresponded with areas consistently marked for limited development or designated as public parks, effectively preventing any accidental rediscovery. This sustained silence was a testament to the perceived threat or immense value of the buried secret. Modern reanalysis of the object's faint energy signature indicated a complex, self-sustaining system, currently in a state of suspended animation. The data suggested it was not inert, but merely dormant, its potential unknown. The containment, therefore, was not a tomb, but a meticulously maintained prison, holding something that required constant vigilance, even in its sleep. The unanswered question now resonates beneath the very streets of the metropolis. What exactly lies entombed in that deep metallic slumber, and who possessed the knowledge and power to bury such a thing beneath a burgeoning city? The Phantom Foundation remains a monument to an unfathomable secret, a silent guardian over something the city sleeps above, oblivious to its profound, hidden truth. We have journeyed through the labyrinthine depths of the buried architecture, unearthing secrets that challenge the very foundation of our understanding of the 19th century. What began as an archaeological curiosity transformed into a profound enigma, a testament to hidden knowledge and immense power meticulously concealed for over a century. This is not merely a tale of forgotten history or an entertaining legend spun from whispers. It is a stark, documented reminder of the deliberate choices made by powerful individuals, the immense truths they chose to conceal, and the enduring, silent consequences of actions shrouded in absolute secrecy. The Phantom Foundation, the colossal object entombed beneath the city, whispers of a profound responsibility borne by generations, a burden passed down through unspoken agreements and clandestine networks. The mystery does not conclude with its mere discovery. Rather, it deepens with every layer peeled back, suggesting that some forces, once encountered, awakened, or contained, never truly rest. The silent sentinel beneath the metropolis continues its unwavering vigil, a dormant power whose full nature remains elusive, a constant, unsettling presence beneath the bustling, oblivious streets. Even now, as you listen, the city sleeps above this profound secret, unaware of the incredible engineering marvel that holds something unimaginable in suspended animation. The forces that orchestrated this monumental burial, the extraordinary knowledge they possessed, and the enigmatic entity they sought to contain, are not merely historical footnotes confined to a distant past. They are echoes in the present, subtly shaping the unseen architecture of our world, a constant, low thrum beneath the surface of modern life. Tell us where you are listening from and what time it is for you. For the Lostvell Chronicle, this hidden truth remains waiting.